Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to speak to every woman who has ever prayed, waited, cried in silence, or wondered if God still remembers her. I want you to know this. When God is about to bless a woman with something big, He never does it quietly. He gives signs, clear, divine indicators that something powerful is about to be birthed in her life. But those signs are not always what we expect. Sometimes they come wrapped in challenges, shifts, or unusual changes that only a woman of faith can recognize. The first sign is an unusual season of pressure. Just like a woman feels contractions before giving birth, many women face their greatest trials before their greatest breakthroughs. When everything seems harder, when life feels heavy, it is not because God has abandoned you. It is because heaven is preparing to release something extraordinary into your life. Pressure is proof that something is about to be delivered. The second sign is divine disconnections. Suddenly, people you thought would walk with you forever start drifting away. Friends may turn their backs, relationships may end, and familiar environments may no longer feel right. This is not rejection, it is redirection. God clears out what cannot carry you to your next level, so He can bring in what aligns with your destiny. The third sign is unusual spiritual sensitivity. When God is preparing to bless a woman, her dreams intensify, her discernment sharpens, and her spirit becomes restless for something greater. She can no longer tolerate mediocrity. She begins to crave prayer, worship, and divine connection like never before. That restlessness is heaven calling you higher. The fourth sign is unexpected opportunities. Doors you never knocked on begin to open. Invitations, ideas, or connections appear out of nowhere. These are not coincidences. They are God's way of showing you that He is aligning resources to match the blessing He is about to release. The fifth sign is inner peace in the midst of storms. While others panic, a woman chosen for a blessing feels a supernatural calmness. It is as if her spirit already knows that victory is certain. That peace is not ordinary. It is divine confirmation that God's promise is on its way. The sixth sign is an attack on your confidence. Right before the blessing manifests, the enemy will try to whisper lies into your ear. You're not good enough. You don't deserve it. You can't handle it. But when those voices rise, it is proof that the enemy sees what God is about to release. If the enemy is fighting you harder, it means the blessing is closer than ever. And the seventh sign is an overwhelming sense of gratitude before you even see the blessing. A woman about to be blessed begins to thank God, not because everything is perfect, but because her faith tells her it is already done. Gratitude before manifestation is the final key that unlocks the door of destiny. So to every woman listening today, I say this: do not be afraid of the pressure, the disconnections, the restlessness, or even the attacks. These are not signs of failure. They are signs that heaven is moving. You are standing on the edge of something big. You are about to step into a blessing that eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, and hearts have not imagined. When God is about to bless a woman, He marks her with signs. And if you are seeing these signs in your life, rejoice, for your breakthrough is not coming. It is already here. The first sign that God is about to bless a woman with something big is an unusual season of pressure. This pressure does not come in ordinary forms. It is not just about the everyday difficulties of life. It is a deep, pressing weight that seems to touch every area of her being. It is like a spiritual contraction, the labor pains that come before the birth of something greater. Every woman who has ever been pregnant knows that contractions are painful, intense, and often overwhelming. yet they are the clearest signal that new life is about to emerge. In the same way, when heaven prepares to release something extraordinary into a woman's life, the pressure comes first. It feels heavy, but it is holy. It feels unbearable, but it is purposeful. The pressure is not there to break her, it is there to make her ready. This pressure can manifest in many ways. Sometimes it appears in her relationships. Suddenly, people begin to misunderstand her, criticize her, or even turn against her. Friends she trusted may betray her, family members may fail to support her, and people she thought would be in her corner may distance themselves. This can feel painful and confusing, but it is really a divine sign that God is clearing the way. Pressure in relationships often means that God is shifting the circle around her, so she can be surrounded by the right people for her next season. Other times, the pressure shows up in finances. Bills pile up, opportunities seem scarce, and the stress of provision weighs heavily on her shoulders. But what looks like lack is often God's way of preparing her for abundance. When she learns to trust Him in the pressure of financial difficulty, she gains the faith muscles to handle the blessing when it arrives. Pressure has a way of teaching dependence on God, and dependence on God is the foundation for managing greater blessings. The pressure can also come emotionally. A woman may feel stretched thin, drained, or even on the edge of giving up. She may question her worth, her calling, and her ability to keep going. Yet even in that emotional exhaustion, there is a holy message. God is stretching her capacity. Just as muscles must be torn slightly in exercise to grow stronger, so too must the soul endure stretching in order to be enlarged for what is coming. Without this season of emotional and spiritual pressure, the woman would not have the resilience to carry the weight of the new blessing. The most profound thing about this pressure is that it usually comes right before the breakthrough. The darkest part of the night is just before dawn. The fiercest contraction comes just before delivery. The most intense spiritual battles happen right before the greatest victories. So if a woman finds herself pressed on every side, with life feeling like it is closing in, she should not despair. She should recognize that the pressure is a divine announcement that something big is on its way. This pressure is also a refining fire. It burns away the unnecessary, the temporary, and the weak, so that only the strong, the pure, and the lasting remain. A woman under pressure learns who she truly is. She discovers her strength, her faith, and her identity in God in ways she never could have without the struggle. It is in those sleepless nights, tear-soaked prayers, and moments of silent endurance that she is molded into the vessel God needs her to be. The pressure is the potter's hand shaping the clay into a vessel that can hold new oil. One of the greatest lies of the enemy is to convince a woman that pressure means she has been forgotten by God. But in reality, pressure is proof that she has been chosen. If she were not carrying something significant, the enemy would not fight her so hard, and life would not stretch her so much. Diamonds are created under pressure, pearls are formed through irritation, and gold is purified by fire. So too is a woman shaped for her blessing through seasons of intense pressure. When she looks back after the blessing has arrived, she will realize that the pressure was not her enemy, it was her preparation. Every tear watered the soil of her destiny, every sleepless night became a seed for her joy, every moment of pressure was heaven's way of declaring, you are about to give birth to something extraordinary. The pressure is not punishment. It is the announcement that the delivery room of destiny is ready and her time is near. So, when a woman begins to feel the weight of unusual pressure pressing into her life from every angle, she should not lose hope. She should lift her eyes to heaven and say, "Lord, I see the sign. I know you are near. I know something big is coming." Because in the kingdom of God, pressure always comes before promotion, contraction always comes before delivery, and struggle always comes before blessing. The second sign that God is about to bless a woman with something big is divine disconnection. This is one of the most painful yet powerful ways God prepares a woman for her next season. Often, the people she thought would stay forever begin to drift away. Friends who once called daily suddenly fall silent. Relationships that once felt stable start to crumble. Even family members may distance themselves or fail to support her the way she hoped. At first, this feels like rejection, and rejection cuts deep. But in truth, it is not rejection. It is redirection. It is God's hand rearranging her connections to make sure she is surrounded by the right people who can walk with her into the new chapter He is opening. When God disconnects people from a woman's life, it can be confusing. She may cry and ask, "Lord, why did you let this person walk away? Why did you allow this friendship to die?" But what she does not realize is that not everyone can go where she is going. Some people are tied to her history but not her destiny. They were part of her yesterday, but they cannot handle her tomorrow. If God allowed everyone to stay, they would weigh her down, distract her from her assignment, or even sabotage the blessing waiting for her. The pruning may hurt, but the fruit it produces is necessary. These divine disconnections often happen suddenly. A woman may wake up one day and realize the conversations no longer flow the same, the support feels weaker, or the relationship no longer aligns with her values. That sudden shift is not an accident. It is God moving in silence. Sometimes He even allows conflict to arise so that the separation becomes unavoidable. While she may be tempted to fight for what is leaving, she must understand that what is walking away was never meant to stay. God does not take without reason. He removes to replace, He shifts to align, and He cuts to protect. Many times, divine disconnection also protects her from hidden dangers. Some people may appear loyal on the surface, but secretly carry envy, jealousy, or ill intentions. If they were to stay close during the season of blessing, they could damage, exploit, or even destroy what God is giving her. Out of His great love, God removes them before the blessing arrives. What looks like loss is actually protection. What feels like abandonment is really God's security system for her destiny. In this season, it is important for a woman to remember that loneliness is not always a curse. Sometimes it is a sacred space God creates so He can draw her closer to Himself. When the noise of unnecessary people is silenced, she can hear God's voice more clearly. The disconnection allows her to pray more deeply, worship more sincerely, and align her spirit with heaven without the distraction of voices that were never meant to guide her future. Divine disconnection is not just about losing people. It is about finding God in a deeper way. It is also worth noting that not every disconnection is permanent. Some people are only removed for a season, while God does His work in both lives. Others, however, are removed permanently because their role has been completed. Either way, the woman must trust God's wisdom. He knows who needs to be in her next chapter and who does not. Just as a gardener prunes branches that no longer bear fruit, God prunes her relationships so that she can flourish. The pruning may sting, but the purpose is growth. The greatest temptation in this season is to cling to what God is trying to remove. Many women waste emotional energy trying to revive dead connections, but doing so only delays the blessing. If she could see what God has ahead, she would not beg for what he has already ended. She would release with trust, knowing that divine disconnection is always followed by divine replacement. Better relationships, stronger support, and healthier circles are waiting, but they cannot come until the wrong ones leave. So when a woman notices people walking away, she must not panic. She must not chase what is leaving. Instead, she should thank God for the pruning even when it hurts. She should say, "Lord, I don't understand it, but I trust you. If you are removing them, I know it is for my good." Because in the kingdom of God, subtraction often comes before multiplication, and pruning always comes before harvest. When she looks back after the blessing has come, she will see clearly. She will realize that the people who left could not have handled the weight of her new season. She will thank God that he disconnected her from what was small so that he could connect her to what was great. She will understand that every good bye made room for a bigger hello. Divine disconnection is not a loss. It is the announcement that God is about to bless her with something too big for the old circle to contain. The third sign that God is about to bless a woman with something big is unusual spiritual sensitivity. When heaven is preparing to open a new chapter in her life, something within her spirit begins to shift. She notices that her heart is no longer satisfied with the things that once kept her comfortable. Entertainment that once distracted her now feels empty. Conversations that once amused her now feel shallow, and places that once seemed attractive now feel out of place. Her spirit begins to crave something deeper, something purer, something eternal. This restlessness is not ordinary. It is heaven's way of awakening her senses to prepare her for what is coming. Unusual spiritual sensitivity can manifest in many ways. A woman may find herself being drawn to prayer more than before. Even if she was never someone who prayed for long hours, suddenly she feels an urge to speak with God at odd times of the day and night. She may wake up at 3 a.m. with a burden on her heart, sensing that God is calling her into quiet fellowship. These are not coincidences. They are invitations. They are signs that her spirit is aligning with God's movement, that heaven is tuning her heart to hear the rhythm of his plans. Her dreams may also become sharper and more meaningful. What used to be random pictures during sleep now carry messages, warnings, or encouragements that stir her soul. She may wake up remembering details vividly, feeling that God is trying to tell her something. In these moments, discernment becomes crucial. God often uses dreams and inner impressions to alert a woman that something greater is on the horizon, and her sensitivity is proof that she is stepping into a spiritual dimension where she can receive divine instructions. This sensitivity also makes her restless in environments that no longer match her growth. She may walk into a place she once enjoyed and suddenly feel heavy, out of sync, or spiritually disturbed. She may spend time with certain people and feel her peace evaporate, as though her spirit is warning her, "This is not your circle anymore." It is not pride, it is discernment. The Spirit of God within her is signaling that she cannot settle for less when more is coming. The blessing requires a purer atmosphere, and so her spirit begins rejecting anything that contaminates it. Sometimes this spiritual sensitivity also makes her more emotional, but not in a weak way. She may cry easily during worship, feel broken during prayer, or sense God's presence more intensely in ordinary moments. These tears are not weakness, they are cleansing. They are the overflow of a heart being prepared for divine visitation. Sensitivity breaks down the walls that life's hardships built around her heart, making room for God's Spirit to move freely. It can be a lonely place to live with heightened sensitivity. She may find it difficult to explain to others why she no longer wants to do what they do or go where they go. They may label her as different or even strange, but she must not be discouraged. What they see as strangeness is actually holiness, a separation that proves God is setting her apart for something greater. Whenever God elevates someone, He first fine-tunes their spirit so they can discern His voice in the noise of life. This sensitivity is also protective. A woman may suddenly feel uneasy about a decision, an opportunity, or even a relationship that looks good on the outside. Her natural eyes see promise, but her spirit feels warning. That is God whispering, "Not this one. Wait, I have something better." If she obeys, she avoids pitfalls that could delay her blessing. If she ignores it, she risks unnecessary pain. Sensitivity is a shield. It keeps her from stepping into traps designed to derail her destiny. The beauty of unusual sensitivity is that it does not just prepare her for the blessing, it prepares her to sustain it. Many people lose what God gives because they are not spiritually alert enough to handle it. But a sensitive woman knows when to withdraw and pray, when to speak and when to stay silent, when to move forward and when to wait. She is tuned to heaven's frequency, so she manages the blessing with wisdom. The enemy also notices this sensitivity and tries to cloud it with distractions. He may tempt her with old habits, past relationships, or meaningless entertainment to dull her spiritual senses. That is why she must guard it fiercely. Sensitivity is a treasure. It is evidence that God is near, that something big is stirring, and that her blessing is closer than she thinks. When she looks back after stepping into the new season, she will realize that her heightened awareness was not in vain. Every sleepless night, every restless prayer, every unusual dream, every sudden urge to worship, all of it was a divine rehearsal. God was tuning her spirit like an instrument, making sure she was ready to play in harmony with His blessing. The unusual sensitivity was not strange at all. It was the holy signal that heaven was opening its gates and that her life was about to change forever. The fourth sign that God is about to bless a woman with something big is the appearance of unexpected opportunities. These opportunities come in ways she least anticipates, through people she may never have imagined, and at times that feel unusual. When heaven is preparing to elevate her, doors begin to open without her knocking. These are not ordinary doors. They are divinely orchestrated connections, invitations, and provisions that align perfectly with her destiny. A woman may have struggled for years, toiled with little progress, and fought to prove herself, but in the season of blessing, things begin to align with such ease that she knows it could only be God. Unexpected opportunities often arrive disguised. They may not look like blessings at first glance. A small assignment, a chance encounter, or even a casual conversation can carry the seed of something extraordinary. For example, a woman may be invited to attend a meeting, not realizing that her presence there will connect her to someone who can open doors for her calling, or she may receive a job offer that seems ordinary on the surface, but positions her for divine promotion. God delights in surprising His daughters by using the ordinary to deliver the extraordinary. These opportunities are not always material. Sometimes they come in the form of new wisdom, fresh inspiration, or sudden clarity about her purpose. A woman may wake up one day with an idea she never thought of before, an idea that could transform her life and the lives of many others. Or she may find herself in a situation where her gifts are recognized and celebrated in ways they never were before. That recognition is not accidental. It is God shining His light on her so that others can see what He placed inside her. Often, unexpected opportunities arrive after a long season of waiting. A woman may feel like she has been overlooked, ignored, or forgotten, only to suddenly be remembered in the right place at the right time. This is the hand of God. He works behind the scenes, aligning people, circumstances, and resources until everything is ready for her to step into her blessing. The waiting may have felt endless, but when the opportunity comes, it comes swiftly, reminding her that delay is never denial. It is preparation. However, with unexpected opportunities comes the need for discernment. Not every open door is a divine door. Some opportunities are distractions dressed as blessings. This is why a woman must stay close to God, listening for His voice before she walks through any new door. The right opportunity will bring peace, clarity, and alignment with her purpose, even if it feels challenging. The wrong opportunity will bring confusion, anxiety, and disconnection from God's presence. Sensitivity is the key to knowing which doors to walk through. Another important aspect of unexpected opportunities is timing. God's timing is always perfect, even when it feels inconvenient. Sometimes a woman may think she is not ready, but God sees that she is. He knows she has been prepared through pressure, refined through disconnection, and sharpened through sensitivity. So when the opportunity comes, she may feel unqualified, but heaven has already stamped her as chosen. In that moment, her only responsibility is obedience, to say yes to what God is presenting, even if fear whispers otherwise. These opportunities also test her humility. When doors open easily, there is a temptation to think it happened by personal effort or luck. But a woman who understands divine timing knows that it is not her resume, her beauty, or her skill alone that made the way. It is God's favor. Favor can take her where connections cannot, and grace can place her in rooms where qualifications fall short. The unexpected opportunity is not proof of her strength. It is proof of God's hand on her life. Sometimes these opportunities may initially seem too big for her. She may look at them and feel overwhelmed, wondering how she will manage, lead, or succeed. But that is the beauty of God's blessings. They stretch her into new levels of faith. The opportunity itself becomes the training ground, teaching her to rely not on her strength, but on God's power. It reminds her that the same God who opened the door will also equip her to walk through it successfully. When she finally looks back, she will see how everything made sense. She will remember the night she cried, not knowing how she would move forward, only to later discover that God was already aligning her blessing. She will recall the small, unexpected invitations that turned into life-changing moments. She will realize that every opportunity that came to her was not random, but was heaven's signature on her destiny. So, when a woman begins to notice unusual openings, new relationships, sudden ideas, surprising invitations, she should not dismiss them. She should see them as holy signs that God is setting the stage. They are the whispers of heaven saying, "Daughter, the time has come." Because in God's kingdom, blessings rarely arrive in ways we predict. They come through unexpected opportunities, proof that His ways are higher than our ways and His thoughts higher than our thoughts. The fifth sign that God is about to bless a woman with something big is inner peace in the midst of storms. This kind of peace is not ordinary. It cannot be explained by logic or human reasoning, because everything around her may appear to be falling apart, yet within her heart there is a calm assurance that things will be all right. Bills may be piling up, relationships may feel strained, challenges may surround her on every side, but she finds herself strangely unshaken. That peace is not coming from her circumstances, it is coming from God. It is His way of signaling to her that He has already gone ahead of her, and the blessing is on its way. This peace is different from the temporary relief people find in distractions or escapes. It is not the peace of ignoring problems, but the peace of knowing that no problem can defeat her because God is in control. It is the same kind of peace Jesus carried when He slept in the boat during a violent storm while His disciples panicked. Everyone else saw danger, but He carried peace because He knew the storm could not sink what God had ordained. In the same way, a woman who is about to step into her blessing may see the waves rising against her life, yet her spirit whispers, "Be still, God has already spoken." Inner peace in the midst of storms is one of the strongest confirmations that God is near. Normally, the natural response to chaos is fear, anxiety, or panic. But when a woman feels a calmness she cannot explain, it means the Spirit of God is covering her heart. That peace is like a divine shield, protecting her from despair and giving her the strength to endure until the promise manifests. This peace also silences the lies of the enemy. When God is preparing to bless a woman, the enemy often tries to attack her mind with doubt and worry. He whispers, "You will fail, nothing will change, you don't deserve this blessing." But in the midst of those lies, she finds herself strangely confident. Even when she cannot see evidence, she senses deep within that God has not forgotten her. The peace drowns out the voice of fear and amplifies the voice of faith. It becomes an anchor that holds her steady until her breakthrough arrives. Sometimes this peace makes no sense to people around her. They may look at her situation and wonder how she can still smile, how she can still worship, how she can still move forward when everything looks against her. But what they do not understand is that her peace is prophetic. It is a declaration that she already sees victory, even before it has physically appeared. That calm spirit is evidence that she is aligned with God's promise. This inner peace also gives her discernment. In the chaos of life, decisions can feel overwhelming, but when a woman carries peace, she knows which path to take. God uses peace as a compass. If she feels unrest, it may be a warning to pause. If she feels peace, it is confirmation to proceed. In this way, peace becomes not only comfort but also guidance, leading her step by step into her blessing. The beauty of this peace is that it cannot be stolen by circumstances. Even when delays happen, she does not lose hope. Even when people walk away, she does not collapse. Even when opportunities seem to vanish, she still believes. The peace is not based on what she sees, but on what she knows, that God is faithful and His promises never fail. There are times when this peace is accompanied by joy. She may find herself singing in the middle of trials, laughing when others expect her to cry, and giving thanks even when nothing has changed yet. That joy is not denial, it is preparation. It is her spirit rehearsing for the blessing that is already written in heaven. Joy in the storm is the strongest sign that her deliverance is near. This peace is also contagious. People around her begin to notice it and draw strength from it. Her calmness inspires others, her quiet confidence lifts weary hearts, and her steady faith points people back to God. In this way, her peace becomes a testimony even before the blessing fully arrives. Others may not know her private battles, but they can see her unshaken faith. When she finally steps into her blessing, she will realize that peace was not just comfort, it was confirmation. It was God's way of letting her know that no matter what the storm looked like, He was in control all along. She will look back and see how peace carried her through nights of uncertainty, days of pressure, and seasons of waiting. She will know that the blessing was not only about what she received, but also about who she became. A woman who can carry peace in storms is a woman ready to carry greatness in her destiny. So, when a woman finds herself strangely calm, oddly confident, and filled with peace, even while everything around her shakes, she should recognize it as a holy sign. It is heaven's whisper saying, "Daughter, do not be afraid. The storm cannot stop what I am bringing. Your blessing is already on its way." Because in God's kingdom, peace is not the absence of trouble. It is the presence of His promise. And when peace shows up in the middle of storms, it means the blessing is closer than she thinks. The sixth sign that God is about to bless a woman with something big is an attack on her confidence. This attack is not random. It comes precisely at the moment when she is closest to her breakthrough. The enemy knows he cannot stop what God has ordained, but he tries to convince her that she is unworthy, unqualified, or incapable of handling the blessing. He whispers lies into her mind, telling her that she is too weak, too flawed, too late, or too ordinary to carry something extraordinary. These attacks may come through her own thoughts, through the criticism of others, or even through circumstances that make her doubt herself. Yet, the very intensity of these attacks is a clear sign that something great is about to happen. Confidence is one of the greatest gifts God gives to a woman because confidence is tied to identity. A woman who knows who she is in God cannot be easily shaken. That is why the enemy strikes at this area so fiercely. If he can make her question her worth, he can make her hesitate when the blessing arrives. If he can make her shrink back in fear, he can delay her from walking boldly into her destiny. But the truth is, the enemy only attacks where there is value. He does not waste his energy on empty vessels. If her confidence is under fire, it means she is carrying something too powerful for him to ignore. The attack on confidence often comes disguised as comparison. She may suddenly find herself looking at other women and feeling inadequate. She sees their successes, their beauty, their progress, and begins to wonder if she is behind, if she has missed her moment, or if she even deserves what she is praying for. But comparison is a thief. It blinds her to her own unique journey and makes her forget that God's timing is tailor-made. What God is preparing for her is not dependent on anyone else's timeline. The attack of comparison is simply a distraction meant to pull her away from celebrating the promise that is already forming in her life. Sometimes the attack comes through repeated failure. A woman may step out in faith only to stumble. She may try new things and face rejection. Each failure feels like evidence that she is not capable, but in reality, these are not failures. They are rehearsals. Every setback is shaping her character, strengthening her resolve, and teaching her lessons that will sustain her when the blessing arrives. What the enemy tries to frame as proof of weakness is actually proof of preparation. The blessing is so significant that God will not allow her to walk into it without the resilience to maintain it. The attack on confidence may also appear in the form of fear, fear of change, fear of success, fear of the unknown. Fear tries to paralyze her, making her believe that she is safer staying where she is rather than stepping into the new. But fear is the enemy's counterfeit. It is his way of trying to block her from receiving what God has already placed in her hands. The truth is, courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward in spite of it. When she chooses to walk forward trembling, heaven strengthens her steps, and the fear that once tried to control her becomes the very platform that proves her faith. This attack on confidence is often strongest just before the blessing manifests. A woman may feel unworthy right before the door opens, unqualified right before the opportunity appears, or incapable right before the promise is delivered. That is because the enemy sees what she cannot yet see. He recognizes that heaven has already released her blessing, and he panics. His only weapon is deception. If he can convince her to forfeit her confidence, he hopes she will also forfeit her blessing. But what he fails to realize is that her confidence is not built on her own strength, but on God's. She may be weak, but he is strong. She may feel unworthy, but he has called her worthy. She may feel inadequate, but his grace makes her more than enough. When she learns to resist this attack and stand firm in her identity, something powerful happens. Every lie that once made her tremble now becomes fuel for her determination. Every criticism that once wounded her now becomes proof that she is chosen. Every doubt that once haunted her now becomes a stepping stone into faith. What was meant to break her confidence actually builds it, because she realizes that her value does not come from the opinions of others or even from her own feelings. It comes from the God who chose her before she was born. When the blessing finally arrives, she will look back at all the seasons where her confidence was attacked and realize it was not wasted. She will see that the moments of doubt prepared her to stand tall, that the times of fear prepared her to walk in courage, and that the seasons of comparison taught her to embrace her own unique path. The attack on her confidence was never a sign of weakness. It was the enemy's desperate attempt to stop what could not be stopped. And the fact that she is still standing, still believing, still pressing forward, is proof that her blessing is not only coming, it is already here. So when a woman finds herself questioning her worth, doubting her abilities, or battling thoughts of inadequacy, she should not despair. She should recognize it as a holy sign. It means the enemy has seen the glow of her blessing and is terrified of what she is about to step into. Instead of shrinking back, she should lift her head high and say, I am chosen, I am called, and I am equipped. Because in God's kingdom, every attack on confidence is the final confirmation that greatness is about to be revealed. In the end, every battle, every delay, every tear, and every attack has been a part of a bigger picture that God is painting for your life. The enemy does not fight what is empty. He fights what carries value. If you have faced rejection, loss, confusion, or attacks on your confidence, it is not because you are forgotten, but because you are chosen. You are standing on the edge of something greater than you can imagine, and the resistance you feel is proof of the blessing that is already on its way. Do not let fear silence you. Do not let comparison steal your joy, and do not let doubt stop your steps. Lift your head, stand in your faith, and remember that what God has promised will surely come to pass. Your blessing is not just coming, it is already moving toward you, and nothing, no attack, no lie, no delay can stop it. This is your season to rise, to shine, and to walk boldly into the greatness that God has